All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. So, I am Andrew, aka Future Predicting Mindgasms, and I'm going to compare the short story by Philip K. Dick called Minority Report, of course, the classic sci fi author, and compare it to the movie adaptation by Steven Spielberg, which a lot of people have seen, of course, which I thought was a really good movie back when I first saw it. I think I saw it when it came out in theaters, and I only recently, a few weeks or so ago, read the short story on which the movie is based. And I think that he actually makes the story better with the changes that he makes, and he adds some layers of complexity. So I'm gonna get into those a little bit in the similarities and differences between the short story and the movie, and how some of the changes actually made it better, in my opinion. All right. So I would say that so it's still the case that the main character is in the Philip K. Dick short story. The main character is John Anderton, played by Tom Cruise, of course. So he's this cop, and he's in this slightly futuristic world. And there's still the in the Philip K. Dick short story, there are still these precogs. Um, who are humans who have the ability to predict the future. And so the John Anderton is the lead pre-crime cop, which using the and the in the pre-crime division, and their pre-crime division using the precogs has basically eliminated all murders because they tell you what murders are going to happen in the future. And Tom Cruise's or John Anderton's unit in the cops, their job is to catch these murderers predicted, the future murderers predicted by the precogs, and then to arrest them and put them away for life for crimes they didn't actually technically commit, but will commit in the future. So I think this is such a philosophically interesting concept because of where it goes in the plot, both in terms of the original short story by Philip K. Dick and the movie. It goes into basically the philosophy of determinism and how you cannot predict the future with any degree of certainty, because the whole idea of a Minority Report is that in the movie I don't think they name the specific one of the three precogs who this is in the short story, but in the movie it's specifically Agatha who has she has the Minority Report. So sometimes her estimations of, or basically her predictions of what's going to happen in the future, differ from the other two people's predictions. I think in the movie it's two brothers who are twins, and she's the female twin. The all three of them are twins, and she's the female one. And sometimes the two male her brothers, they both agree on their predictions, but she disagrees with them. So that means that literally every prisoner that John Anderton has ever put away, there's a third of it was there's a third of a chance that they would have actually been innocent. So the whole idea is that you cannot actually predict the future. The future is not set. The future is not predetermined. And so you're locking people up for crimes that they didn't commit, and he thought he was doing that because it was a guarantee that these people were going to murder someone, but they are actually only 2/3 likely, so there's always a chance that they don't do it. And so yeah, but like I said, the short story explores that really fascinating basic concept. So Philip K. Dick uh totally gets credit for that. And I might do a review on this soon. For those of you who don't know, Philip K. Dick is he wrote so many other awesome science fiction stories, many of which have been made into movies. Like Total Recall is one of them, for example. The Arnold adaptation is awesome, but the stupid new one with Colin Farrell is terrible because they don't even go to Mars. But that concept came from Philip K. Dick originally too. But anyway, so In the short story by Philip K. Dick, John Anderton, who is Tom Cruise's character in the movie, like I said, he's still the same character, but basically they just extend the plot a whole lot and add a whole lot of details that add a whole lot of complexity to it. Like, for example, in the Philip K. Dick short story, um, John Anderton, he still has a wife who, and Tom Cruise's character has a wife in the movie as well, but in the short story they're still married and they don't have a kid, whereas in the movie John Anderton has an ex-wife and they did have a kid, but they got divorced when they drifted apart after their kid tragically died. I forget how he died exactly, some sort of terminal disease or a car accident or something. I don't remember exactly how that happens in the movie. Sorry, there's a lot of background noise there. Um, so in the movie they changed it so that John Anderton has an ex-wife who he divorced when their child died, and they also add in the movie too that John Anderton, because of breaking up with his wife and losing his child, presumably has also become a drug addict, and he takes this weird futuristic drug in the movie that comes in like puffer forms that people use when they have asthma. And so that's one thing that I like, because it's unnecessary, but it adds another layer of drama and makes John Anderton a more compelling character. And another change that they made for the movie was that in the original story by Philip K. Dick, the like John Anderton never steals one, it like kidnaps one of the precogs and then goes around with it, and it tell after he's gotten the prediction that he's going to murder someone. In the short story, he basically just instantly becomes a fugitive, but in the movie they have him kidnap one of the precogs because Agatha, he's looking at the twins and she randomly jumps up at him and is trying to warn him. And then after that point in the movie, he receives a prediction like he does with all of the other future criminals who are going to murder people. He sees the footage of him murdering someone. Um, and in the book, like I said, he just runs away and becomes a fugitive almost immediately as soon as he can. But there's no there's no extended exploration of his relationship with one of the precogs. So that's why I like that they added that aspect to the movie too, because he's going around with one of the precogs and learning more about how their predictions work and how she sometimes disagrees with the others. And sorry, there's more background noise there. Anyway, so also in the movie, he goes to this like botanist woman or something, and she tells him all about the precogs because she used to take care of them or something. I forget the exact details of that, but that's interesting too. And then they have this whole thing in the movie where he gets a surgeon to remove his eyes and replace them for different ones, because the way that society works is in this world is that you're always going around getting photographed everywhere you are, so that uh, corporations can market ads specifically to you using your name. So he gets this Japanese guy's eyes, and so he gets Agatha's prediction about who he's supposedly going to murder, and it's a man who he's never heard of and never met before, and he gradually is investigating his own future murder, and it ends up being the case that the he was like this guy was framed by someone else for being the guy who kidnapped his kid. Right, that's what happened with his kid. His kid got kidnapped and then presumably died. Actually, I don't remember whether he presumably died or was killed, but this guy gets framed for being that guy. So Tom Cruise is about to kill him when he realized that this guy was framed in order to frame him for murder. So another difference with this aspect between between the book and the show is that in the in the short story is so much shorter because in one way, basically Colin Farrell's character, who is coming in to provide some oversight into the pre-crime program in the movie. That character is in the book, but he plays a much more minor role, and he's the one who frames John Anderton for murder to show the flaws in the pre-crime program. Whereas in the movie, they create this entire other character and add a whole other few layers of complexity, which I actually like that change too. It turns out that we think that Colin Farrell is the one who has framed John Anderton in order to show that the pre-crime program doesn't work or that it's wrong. But it actually turns out to be the case that he was an advocate for it, and it sounds like he's an advocate for it in the short story too. So it adds that there is that layer of suspense until close to the end of it. But it turns out in the movie, of course, that there's this older guy. I forget which actor it is. I think maybe Christopher Plummer, but I think I might have that wrong. But so there's this new character, and in the movie, it's such a brilliant character to add because he's been this mentor to John and helped institute the pre-crime division. But then in the movie, it turns out that we see that he kills Colin Farrell's character when he goes and asks questions about how the footage of the murder that John Anderton is going to commit has some inconsistencies in the way it looks in the background. And so Colin Farrell's character, I think it's him that finds out that there's another murder. He did this. The old guy framed John Anderton because he was afraid that he was going to find out that he murdered this woman who was the original mother to the Precogs, who wanted her children back, and he murdered her, and he knew that the Precogs would give this prediction. So he did a murder. He looked at old footage of a murder prediction that the Precogs made, and staged his murder so that it looked exactly the same as one of the previous murders that happened that the Precogs predicted. And it turns out that not only did that happen, but he framed John Anderton's character for murder to preserve the pre-crime program, not to show that it doesn't work and to bring it down, but for the completely opposite reason, to preserve it. So there's another character who has the complete opposite motivation of the person who ends up to be the main villain in the short story. So yeah, I guess those are basically the main levels of added characters and details that add very interesting complexity and philosophical meaning to the story overall. So yeah, that's why I like the movie actually more than the book. Although, of course, Philip K. Dick is an awesome classic sci-fi author, and his his reputation as one of the greatest is well deserved, of course, because he came up with this idea in the first place, along with True Lies and so many other awesome short stories and novels, many of which, including True Lies and others, like I mentioned, that got made into movies. All right, so thanks everyone for watching. I think those are basically the main comparisons that I wanted to get into. So yeah, click that like button, share this everywhere, subscribe to the channel, click that bell to be notified when I come out with new videos. Probably going to do a clip from one of my podcasts with Chris and Dusty next, with us talking about Alexander Dugin, who has been called Putin's brain, who is this traditionalist kind of postmodern conservative, or arguably right-wing reactionary, depending on who you listen to, intellectual, who apparently his influence on Putin has been exaggerated according to some people. But it's us talking about Dusty's theory that Alexander Putin is kind of the Russian version of Jordan Peterson, and I think he's maybe the Russian much smarter and more sophisticated and in some ways perhaps more dangerous than Jordan Peterson version of Jordan Peterson, although that might not be true if he actually doesn't have anywhere near as much of an influence on Putin as some people claim. But yeah, anyway, check that out. And this weekend, I'll probably be doing basically a season 1 review of the Lord of the Rings show, The Rings of Power, that I've been talking about with my fantasy nerd friends Dusty and Tristram, who I always talk about fantasy books with. So check that out this next weekend as well. And yeah, check out my Patreon page. The link is in the description of the video as always. And like I always say, I love you all. Keep being the tiny beam of light that shines through the almost impenetrable darkness in the universe. And most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all, and groove is in the heart. And Minority Report is both an awesome short story and an awesome movie. And you should definitely read the short story. You can listen to the audiobook for free on YouTube. You can read the ebook for free on the archive.org website and online library. And it's very easily accessible in countless other ways too. And of course, you can find it's many people have seen the movie. I'm sure it's on all sorts of streaming platforms. Fascinating sci-fi concept. And yeah, keep having mindgasms. The funk cures all. Groove is in the heart. Sci-fi is awesome and fascinating, including especially Minority Report. And adios until next time, everyone. Ta-ta, bitches.